Coming up this week on the Nintendo Directors Podcast, we've got impressions of Splatoon 2 and Hey Pikmin, clues about a possible Nintendo 64 Classic console, Mario Kart shows up in VR, and more.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Brad.
We're two middle school band directors.
And you're listening to
Nintendo Directors.
Hello, and welcome to the first ever episode of Nintendo Directors Podcast. This is episode number 3001. And
3001, you say?
Yes. Episode 1 or 3001. We're starting. We've been around for a while, even though this is the first episode, right. But it is episode 3001.
Definitely.
Yeah, as it was mentioned in the title, we are two middle school band directors, and we both like Nintendo. So you, in our podcast, you'll kind of get the perspective of two adult gamers who happen to be musicians, and we both grew up loving Nintendo. So we might talk about other games from time to time, maybe.
Just whatever.
But primarily it's going to be Nintendo related. So if we talk about other video games, Nintendo, accept our apologies. So all right.
Very cool.
Yeah. So anyways, we're from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm Mark, by the way.
And I'm Brad. Also from the Grand Rapids area there.
Yeah. And we actually went to college together, and we didn't play video games together. We were just working on being musicians back then. And now that we've given up on that dream, here we are.
Right. We threw it all out and just went wild.
Absolutely.
With this podcast that has no... Yeah. Okay.
We're in our 3001st episode already. So.
Well, this is true. Yes, we made a lot of time really quickly.
So... anyways, each episode, what you can expect from an episode of Nintendo Directors, you can expect we'll have 3 segments in each episode. Each episode will be roughly 40 minutes or so, give or take. And each episode will have 3 segments. The first segment will be the news, and then we will have a segment on what we've been playing lately and what we think about that. And then the third segment of each episode will be kind of from a grab bag of basically whatever we want to talk about.
That's right.
It could be a retro game review. It could be a modern game review, a soundtrack review. It could be what we've been eating lately, which I had some delicious spaghetti for dinner tonight. So
wow,
yeah, it was
meatballs
good.
or did you have
just some ground beef? So.
Just some ground beef, okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to make it into the ball. I was good with it just being smattered throughout. So, yeah.
I like chopping up some Polska kielbasa and putting it in there because then it doesn't eat up as much as the sauce. Like the meat, it just takes the sauce right out there.
That's true.
But I grew up on the burger, so that's how Mom used to make it. So that's always a favorite.
All right. Well, so that's kind of Nintendo Directors in a nutshell there. So we're going to move ahead and get into our first segment. So here is the news.
And today the news is brought to you by Acme Ninja Shields. If you're one of the few but vocal citizens constantly being stalked by these masters of subterfuge, Acme Ninja Shields are designed to specifically provide subtle yet effective cover from all manner of covert attacks. More information at blessmyninjastars.com. And here we go with the news. So Mark neglected to tell you, of course, the most important thing about this episode, and that is the date. July 25th, 2017 is when we were recording here. Our 3000 and... What's that?
Yeah, well, it's our 3001st episode. I can be...
That's
expected to forget the date every once in a while.
Every once in a while. Yeah. Oh,
also, I should say this is a bi-weekly podcast.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Yeah, all right. Look at that. It's our 3001st episode, and we're still getting the kinks worked out of what we're going to talk about. But this is a bi-weekly podcast, people, and you should be expecting it to drop into your ear holes every Thursday morning. So every other Thursday morning.
Yeah, I was going to say not every Thursday.
Yes. Once again, it's the 3001st episode.
I looked it up. There apparently are 2 definitions of bi-weekly. It can be every other week, or it can in fact be twice a week, which is confusing. But
we are definitely not doing twice a week.
No, definitely not doing
this is the 3001st episode, which puts us at least at like, I don't know,
That's
multiple
right.
years of doing this, but
a couple decades, really.
Yeah,
yeah. If it's bi-weekly, then yeah.
Yeah. That's true. A few decades before video games, possibly. All right. Anyways, the news. Here we go. Take it away,
news,
Brad.
right. Let's get into it. So we have been playing a couple different games this week, starting with Splatoon 2. This is kind of the hot item. Just came out this past Friday, and it's pretty great from what we've heard. No, we actually. At least I've put some time into this game, particularly on the Splatfest that happened on, what was it, Wednesday or no?
Was that on
remember.
Saturday?
It all blends together
recently.
now. It was recently, before the game came out.
Hey, everyone, we are teachers, and this is the middle of summer. We have no
right.
idea what day it is anymore.
Exactly.
It's just
until Marching Man starts up later this
Yeah, that's true. 2 weeks of freedom left. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so Splatoon 2. I have to be honest, although I did own a Wii U, I never actually owned the original Splatoon.
I didn't either.
No?
I liked what I liked what I played of it. I had played it multiple times. I never owned it, and it's one of the great regrets in my life because
wow,
it's my favorite idea for a shooter game ever. Like the fact that if you're just terrified of people, just run around the perimeter. Like don't be noticed and just start inking up the place. Like that's awesome. It's a really great idea, and I had a ton of fun the times I played Splatoon 1. And I just got to say, my only disappointment with Splatoon, and I know people have said this too, but I felt this right off the bat. Why isn't it Splatwoon? Splatoon in the title.
Oh, okay.
Or they could have done a number there or something like.
Oh, I
anyways.
see for this. Yeah, I forgot for the sequel.
For the title.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Anyways.
All right. So yeah, my experience basically comes down to the Splatfest that happened recently, and of course it was a monumental decision whether you had to choose Team Ice Cream or Team Cake, and everybody of course knows that the correct answer was Team Ice Cream.
Oh yeah,
for sure. And actually, from what I played. That seems to have been the great consensus. I believe there's even some data on this that it was like 75% of all players in the Splatfest
really
Team Ice Cream. Yeah, it was to the point that we had when I was doing matches online there. Sometimes it would hesitate when it was it would get me 4 players for Team Ice Cream, of course, and then it would wait and try to fill it up and try to fill it up and try to fill it up, and I would say, I guess this to their credit, they didn't make me wait for forever to find actually 4 Cake teammates. Instead, they just filled the whole second team with Team Ice Cream.
Wow.
That happened multiple times throughout my play session there. But go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I mean, obviously it's ice cream because there's mint chocolate chip, and I know a few people out there that say mint chocolate chip. Mint doesn't belong in anything except for toothpaste, and I think less of those people, but anyways,
okay, yeah, well,
maybe those are the cake people. I don't know.
It's possible. I mean, I do like cake. I'll be honest, but when there's so many options with the ice cream, and so many delicious, and of course, when you have something like Cold Stone where you can just mix and match your own kind of thing. That's the best of all worlds.
Yep.
So anyway. In terms of my first time really playing or diving into Splatoon for more than, the 3 minutes that you can play at like a GameStop or something, back in the day when they were showing off the original Splatoon, I had a lot of fun actually. It was, I really appreciate the diversity, like you were saying, Mark, about you can always feel important no matter what your level of skill is.
It's a brilliant idea. It's just... It's the best addition to a first-person or a shooter game since Perfect Dark and what I can't remember what other Time Splitters had all the bots that you could add in to multiplayer. Like that was revolutionary, and then this now is the next big step in my opinion. I know there are going to be like Halo fans out there that are going to be screaming at me, but whatever. This is the next big step. I love that idea. So
yeah, it's pretty great. I mean, I remember you totally get into it, and sometimes, you know, especially since I wasn't doing any kind of voice chat and everything. This was before the app launched, and this was before. Or even, you know, I didn't really have the opportunity to get into that, and I didn't have any friends nearby that were also playing, so we couldn't Skype or on the phone or whatever. So it was basically just by myself, and so in that sense, it was kind of hard to know, other than just your line of sight, how well you were doing. You know, you could see I've been able to kill a couple guys here, and I've been able to get that roller back behind the lines, but maybe I'm not seeing people because they're all in our base, you know? So there's that kind of back and forth, and it always does create a little bit of a sense of tension before the end when you're at the end. Well, I guess they do kind of show you the map, I guess. But when it's close, it's cool. In fact, I had a really interesting experience. My absolute first match. Still had no idea. Still figuring out the controls, because there's, you know, you have to. There's the whole motion control thing, which actually I didn't have too much problem with. I know some people have been talking crap about it, but I know it's not required for this game. They give you the option to change, but I figured I'd at least try the motion controls and stuff. But either way, my very first match, I get to the end, and I'm looking at the map that they show you before they show the actual percentages, and man, this looks pretty close. And so, sure enough, they spin their thing, and then the numbers come up. We got an exact tie.
Wow!
Like
first game,
very first game, and yeah, after seeing, you know, in the coming days after this, and especially since the game has launched, there's been several posts on just different message boards and Facebook pages and stuff about, you know, hey guys, I got within 1%, or did anyone else get some close matches? You know, I got within 3%, I got within 4%, or 2%, or whatever. But I have not seen anybody else get an exact tie. Yeah. The crazy thing is, my team still won.
Oh wow! Yeah,
I'm not sure what their, you know, algorithm of that is, unless it goes to like number of kills or something.
I think it goes to number of kills. There's going to be some Nintendo fan out there, some Splatoon fan that's going to be jumping up and down, listening to this and yelling. But I'm if anybody's listening to this, but I'm pretty sure it goes to kills at that point. But yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, so that's Splatoon 2, and then you got a chance to play the Hey Pikmin demo. Yeah.
So I have always been a very big fan of the Pikmin series. I don't know what experience you have with it.
My first exposure to the game was actually in Nintendo Land on the Wii U.
Oh,
and made me want to get Pikmin 3, and my wife and I played through a good probably 15 to 20 hours of that game. It was mostly my wife playing, and
it's great.
Oh man, it's just the cutest, most brutal, cute game ever.
Right? For real.
I loved it. But yeah, so hey Pikmin.
So, you know, Pikmin has always been near and dear to my heart, even since the first GameCube one. And I got to say, this is definitely different, because it's all on the 2D plane.
Okay.
I was actually, when they first showed this game, I can't remember where it was, one of the directs way back when. I was initially caught off guard. I was like, how can this possibly work at all in 2D? Because you know, the whole gist of Pikmin is you're sending this group here, and you're sending this group there, and you're trying to fight here and take down this wall while they're doing, you know, all these multitasking things, and you're kind of this. It's a real-time strategy type game where you're overhead and you're doing that. So I honestly was a little bit skeptical going into this, but I was relatively surprised. Now, to be fair, it's definitely not like traditional Pikmin in the sense that you don't have all that multitasking going in terms of the using that physical space and
right.
multitasking, you know.
Yep.
But it definitely still has the charm of Pikmin. I really appreciate that aspect of it, because it as always, cute and charming. It's very. It looks a lot like Pikmin. They didn't do any major art style changes. It is a little bit Like, it doesn't look super great, and they don't even use the 3D feature on the 3DS, which is a little bit of a bummer. Especially because it's this, you're this tiny person in this large world, and so I thought there was a lot of opportunity to use that.
Yeah, missed opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, for some cool things, but you go around and it's a level based thing now. It's not so much a big open world. And it's a level. You go into each level, and there's usually, I think, three artifacts to find in each one. But it's one thing I will say about it is that even though it doesn't use the multitasking aspect, I do really appreciate that it forces you to use both screens or to keep an eye on both screens at the whole time. Like,
sure.
Oftentimes they'll hide, because the Pikmin, there's a set number of Pikmin in each level. And you go around and you use your whistle and you try to find them, but they're hidden oftentimes. And so you can just be going along doing your thing on the bottom screen there, and then you might totally miss the fact that on a ledge on the upper screen there's some plants and there's some Pikmin hiding behind there. And so it forces you to keep your eyes open and use your environment. So I really appreciate that side of it. Aside from that, there's some clever stuff. There's some fun trinkets to find, I guess. That's kind of one of the big things about Pikmin is you find all these real world things. There was a Legend of Zelda DX Game Boy cartridge to find. It was super fun.
That's cool.
And there was just lots of little things like that. And they really have kept true to the nature of what the Pikmin can do. There's the red Pikmin that are sort of your general battle Pikmin, and there's the rock Pikmin that you throw and they can break stuff, and they have big hits and whatnot. And they still use those to effect for puzzle solving, and that's really what I would say this game sort of is. It's kind of a puzzle game, more than it is a real time strategy game in the overall sense.
Interesting.
So,
yeah.
like for instance, I remember when I was going through, I think it was a level in the third world, and you had on the bottom screen there, you had these sand block type things that you need the rock Pikmin to be large enough to, you throw it at them and it breaks the sand thing so you can get through. But it was kind of a clever puzzle in that it had a row of the smaller blocks on the bottom and then bigger blocks on the top. And so if you just threw your rock Pikmin and just like did this huge arcing thing where it took out all the sand, then you would basically break your path to be able to get to the other side. If
Sure.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so it really it required you to take one at a time and just go. I'm gonna take this higher block out, and then I'm gonna step on that higher block, and then because your Pikmin can't jump, you have to, and so they can jump, but only when you toss them. And if you run past where your Pikmin are, they stay. Like they don't jump up behind you. I don't know if that makes sense. So.
Yeah.
Either way, you had to use one block at a time, and you had to stay on the top row so you didn't fall down below where you needed to get to, and that allowed you to unlock a secret or to find a thing. So I think there's definitely some potential for some fun puzzle solving within it. It definitely does feel like Pikmin Light, or
Okay.
I think one of their podcasts put it as Diet Pikmin.
Oh, okay. I like that. Like Pikmin Nintendo Land version, but not Nintendo Land.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's much. I got to be honest.
But 2D.
I put about 12 minutes into the Pikmin part of Nintendo Land. I didn't love it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so I don't remember it too much. I just remember throwing Pikmin, and it was very simple, but so
Yeah,
it's
it
a little
was.
bit different than that. But
Okay.
but it was a good time. So
Okay.
yeah, I think it remains to be seen, I guess, how much depth the full game will bring, but it's still pretty nice little.
It's Pikmin
little
on the
package
go.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I'll take that. I'm still
All right.
hoping, and I believe there's going to be I believe they technically confirmed a full-on Pikmin 4. I'm assuming for Switch down the line.
Yeah, that
Some
would
reports about that.
be fantastic. That would be true Pikmin on the go, where you wouldn't be having to compromise with any diet,
Right.
So
Right.
All right, well,
Share the joy.
So next we've got in the news we've got Nintendo trademarks suggest that there's an N64 Classic Mini coming next year,
boy.
and which is both awesome and terrifying. It's another.
So let's be clear. This is not like confirmed yet by any
Not
means.
confirmed. No. We're
but there were definitely. I think let's see. This is by IGN reports.
Yep.
It was filed in Europe. Excuse me. A NeoGAF thread points to a series of applications filed in Europe via the European Union Intellectual Property Office on July 18th, indicating that Nintendo is looking to register trademarks for several of its past consoles' controllers. Included drawings include NES, SNES, Nintendo Switch, and Nintendo 64 controllers. So it's a little bit maybe of a stretch, but they had similar things leading to
right. How do they not do it at this point? I mean, they're going back through their greatest hits albums at this point, and it's it's a sure moneymaker for them. And
okay.
It's also something to drive all of Nintendo fans insane because they're going to make about 3 of them, and everyone will want one of the 3. So
okay, but here's the thing, though. This, again, I realize this is not an official report by Nintendo, but the fact that it comes out now before the Super NES Classic, which hasn't been officially announced, is not even officially available for pre-orders in the U.S. except for Walmart's snafu thing there, which will probably be canceled for the most part.
That's unfortunate.
That's a whole other story. But yeah, so this just comes in, and I'm already at least feeling weary because, like, I'm interested in a Super NES Classic, kind of, but I'm like, when the heck am I going to be able to pre-order this, if ever? And then the other side of it is, please, I've got a Switch now. Just give me Virtual Console.
Right.
That's all I want.
if they just find a simple way to get all the games running, if they opened up their library and said, like, hey, it's $10 a month to play any NES game. It's $10 a month to play any Super Nintendo game. Any $10 for any N64. Open up the libraries for $10 a month, and then like do a bundle, like $200 for the year to play any Nintendo game from any past console. I'd pay that. Like, that'd be sweet to have it on my Switch wherever I went. Like, okay, sign me up for that. I'm down.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it's way harder than that, but
I know.
But yeah, it would totally be sweet, and that certainly leads in, or it goes. There is something like that coming through the Nintendo Online service, which they've been fairly vague about outside of the couple NES games, which there's, again, a whole other subject we don't need to go into right now. But the other thing about the whole N64 thing is that, on a cursory glance or thought process, is there really a whole lot that they could bring to that system? Like NES, you got 30 games. Was it 30 games? 30 games for $60. Super NES, you got 21 of them. Yep. Like one of the best games you could possibly imagine.
Right.
N64 has some phenomenal games, but there are so many. Like, take the Zelda games, for instance. Like Ocarina of Time, my favorite game ever.
Sure.
There are so many better ways to play that than the original N64 version. The 3DS remakes of that and Majora's Mask are so far superior to the original.
Yep.
And so I'm thinking through this list. Okay, Super Mario 64, sure. Okay,
they'd have GoldenEye. They would have to find a way to get.
Do you
GoldenEye
think?
on there.
That's what I'm saying. That's one of the huge sellers, of course. But there are so many rights that are tied up. It's tied directly to Microsoft at the moment. Because of Rare and so I just almost don't see that happening.
If they released it without that or Perfect Dark, if they released it without those two. Like, what are they going to offer up? Turok?
Right.
In place of it?
The N64 had some phenomenal showstoppers, absolutely.
Yep.
But the overall...
maybe we'll get Daikatana, which... that'd be awful. No, you know what shooter they could give? If they wanted to, like, make amends, and if they wanted to get a shooter on there, I thought Doom 64 was actually surprisingly fun. And it played... like I remember people were ragging on it at the time for, I guess it wasn't a fully 3D rendered game, but it looks better now when you go back and play it, and it runs smoother compared to like a GoldenEye or whatever. It just it runs more smoothly. But again, that would only appease people who grew up playing that game. So, but yeah, what are they going to offer? Quest 64?
Yeah, right.
But they've got some huge hits. But yeah, getting GoldenEye would be tough.
Yeah, and so
fingers crossed though.
Right. Whereas you think through the GameCube library, or you think through obviously the NES or the Super NES, there's just thing after thing after thing that immediately comes to mind. N64, so many of those are tied up in legal rights, or they're third-party things, which in general would be harder.
Right.
But they're just not standout things that really come to mind. So I don't know. There's a lot of challenges if they are in fact going in that direction. I think
maybe they'll only release it with like 4 or 5 games, but you'll be able to buy like 20 different versions of it with different colors, and then the Pokemon version, like the Pikachu one. They're
right.
So yeah, all right.
Just give me Virtual Console, please.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Switch.
That's
what I want.
All right. So
next,
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So this is a stories week. Again, we're doing this every other week, so sometimes these stories break like the day after we record, and they're almost 2 weeks 2 weeks old. So bear with us. And this broke on the 14th, I believe, or
which
or
was right after the 3000th episode. So.
Right, that's right. So we have Mario Kart in VR. This is a real thing, and it's kind of crazy to think about because it's seems like Nintendo really hasn't even wanted to touch VR for anything really, at least at this point. And so it's based again, IGN reports it's one of the this game is one of the attractions at Bandai Namco's new Tokyo Arcade VR Zone Shinjuku, opening on July 14th, and is based on Bandai Namco's existing Mario Kart arcade cabinet with a
which I've always wanted to play. I've always wanted to play that. Anyways, go ahead.
That does sound like, I wanted to give a shot at that as well, for sure. Wheels and pedals, the experience has been reworked for VR, and it's played on the HTC Vive, which, from what I've heard, the Vive of the three, of the main anyway, 3 or 4 VR rigs that you can get right now, is technically the most sophisticated in terms of, graphical prowess and using the environment well, and not that you can't get VR on the PSVR or any of those things, but it's just a little bit more complete experience. So it's an interesting thing, but apparently, you watch, if you go on the IGN article, or I'm sure you could just YouTube it, find the YouTube video of what it looks like to be driving down I think it's the Mario Castle, or Royal...
Was it Royal Raceway?
Royal Raceway, maybe? Yeah, I think so. And you've got cars coming up on the side there. You got you got Bowser, you got Peach, you got all these different characters, and you just look around and you see everything happening around you, and there's items flying all over the place, and it's pretty.
Speaking of flying, I am also going to be purchasing a ticket and flying across the Pacific to go play this in Tokyo because it's my dream come true. The only thing that they need to do now with Mario Kart, in my opinion, is augmented reality and allow you to shoot blue shells at people on the road that don't know how to drive. Although, I think I would probably get into an accident really quickly with Mario Kart AR, but make it happen, Nintendo. Make it happen.
Okay, but who's in first when you do that?
Oh,
You're just driving down the road. Who's in first?
Well, I mean...
Anyone ahead of you?
The cops will just have to be understanding of the fact that I'm going to be speeding to be first, because I don't lose in Mario Kart. That's my game. Mario Kart AR is the news for next week, so...
Tell our listeners about your marching band bus trips with your students.
Oh, yeah. We're Nintendo directors. All right, so every year I teach at a public school in north of Grand Rapids called Northview, great school, and our marching band goes to state finals for marching band every year, and the bus trip across the state to Detroit is it's a tradition to bring our DS Lite. I have a DS Lite, and play Mario Kart DS. the entire way down with a group of 8 students, and everyone's clamoring to get into the group of 8. And I've
And you go easy on, right? That's how it goes?
Well, usually I don't lose a race the entire way down. There was one student, and legality issues probably prevent me from saying names of underage students. I'll just call him J-Dub, and if he's listening, he knows who he is. But my hat is off to that student because he actually beat me the whole way down. He probably beat me about 60% of the time, and I would beat him about 40% of the time. He was just a little bit better. There was another student. She's old enough now, Bethany Mazurek. She was close. She was really close to me. She was very good, and I thought she was the only competition I'd ever faced. But then J-Dub came along and dethroned me. So, I did burn my DS Lite after that. I'm done. So,
That's funny.
Yeah. All right. So
anyway, Mario Kart in VR, it's a thing, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm flying to Tokyo tomorrow. All right.
Wow.
Well,
2 more quick stories here.
Yeah, go ahead.
They're on the next page here. 2 more quick stories. The Nintendo 3DS. Okay, now you got to make sure we get the right one. The new Nintendo 3DS, but the standard size, not the XL version.
Right.
That has been discontinued, or they're no longer making those. Which a lot of people argue that that smaller one was the one that they really like, because they like the form factor and they like the fact that it had those faceplates that you could get.
Right.
So I guess if you still were in the market from one of those, you hadn't gotten one, better get it quick, because that price is going to go up real quick.
Yes, indeed.
So just be aware of that. It's kind of an interesting thing. Obviously, it makes sense because they're, of course, releasing the upcoming 2DS XL just in a couple of days, I think.
Yep.
Which
saw that too.
Again is another addition to that family, that enormous family of 3DS and new 3DS and 2DS and 2DS XL and Galaxy Edition
and in a couple years the new 3DS XL Classic Mini. So
right, there you go, for sure. So that is coming out. It's kind of cool. And finally today we have a story that I'm saying we're gonna talk about it just briefly, but I'm not necessarily sure how much I'm getting my hopes up. Kingdom Hearts 3 may eventually come to Nintendo Switch. Again, reported
breaking news, everyone. Brad just announced Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming to the Switch. Everyone get ready.
That's how it goes. Rumors get started.
Yes.
Again, reported by IGN. By the way, the new Nintendo 3DS thing was reported by GameSpot, or at least that's where I found it. But by IGN, there was an interview of the director of Kingdom Hearts 3, and he was mentioning or they asked him basically, would it come to Switch? And he was, for all intents and purposes, he just said, maybe. And not until the PS4 and the Xbox One versions came out. So basically just kind of covering his bases. But,
right.
So I'm not, again, if it does happen, it would happen probably years, not anytime soon. And it would almost seem to be kind of strange because basically none of the other, well, not none. I guess there was like the old Game Boy Advance. There was one Kingdom Hearts thing on that.
Oh,
and there was
right.
one or two on DS, I think. But there's like 30, Kingdom Hearts games. So the only place you can really play them all right now, I think, is on the PS4 if you buy two or three collections.
Yep.
They're available right now. So I guess you'd have to catch up on all that. And from what I hear from the Kingdom Hearts enthusiasts around me, you really do have to follow all of the stories if you want to have any idea what the heck is going on going into 3.
Yep.
So there's that. Maybe.
All right. Well, you heard it here first on Nintendo Directors. Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming to the Switch in a year or two. It's confirmed. 100%. All right,
sure.
We're gonna get sued for libel or something. I don't know. But hey, we made 3,001 episodes. It was a good run.
Without that, yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right. So that's the news. On to what we've been playing. All right, what we've been playing. Zelda, Breath of the Wild. You, Brad? anything.
Zelda. Okay, no, wait. We should probably give our listeners some context. You are a new Switch daddy.
I am a new Switch daddy. I brought my Switch baby home a few weeks ago, and I've got over 45 hours in Breath of the Wild. And remind you, I have 2 kids. I'm on summer break, but I have 2 kids, and I haven't really played much when they've been awake. I've just been sacrificing some sleep. You usually have a couple hours of, after the kids go to sleep in which my wife and I can do something, and we've been playing Breath of the Wild. We bought the guide, and I know some people are like, no, don't get the guide, but we use it for the shrines, and so we can get through them quickly, and also for the beginning of the game, just like getting our feet wet with it. But once we got off the Great Plateau, it's kind of just been like, where do we want to go? And it's I don't want to be that person that's like, the newest game is the best game they've ever played, and then the next newest game. But this is the best game I've ever played. It's so good. It's so good. And I got to say, I saw a video of a guy that's beaten it in like 39 minutes or something, which is it's ridiculous because I'm 45 hours into this, and I don't see how anyone could beat this in less than 1,000. But it's awesome. This video,
but it's the great freedom. It's the amazing freedom of this game, and this, of course, has been said many, many times. We are telling you nothing new to your listener in that there's the Breath of the Wild has been in the wild for several months now, and the praise has just been completely valid, but just over the top for this game. Since we're on the topic, and because I still have been playing Breath of the Wild some 80 hours in this week, I'll give my 2 cents. Yes, it is just a monumental achievement in gameplay. Like, again, I've played over 80 hours now, and I have not touched one Divine Beast. I haven't been in one official dungeon or temple yet. I just decided, as soon as I started, basically, I got off the plateau, and then I just started going off to the horizon and trying to figure out what I could see and what I could find. And I'm finding shrines as I go.
Yep.
But I have no intention of doing any of the major story stuff until I get the entire map filled in, which I just finished the last tower a couple days ago, actually. I got that one opened up, so the whole map is there.
Which tower was that? Because I just unlocked the full map this last weekend. So what was the tower you got last?
The tower I did last was in the top right corner, the Zora region there.
Oh, okay.
Basically, Let's see. What did I do? I think I started off going to Kakariko Village, and then I just went south. I think I went down to the desert, and then I went up. I went over to the right, the bottom right corner of the map, down to the seaside area, which I loved. That area is gorgeous.
Uh-huh.
I can't tell you how many screenshots I've taken of sunsets or just pretty stuff. And then I went up in the mountains on the far left, and then I've kind of made my way back over to the right corner. So I did a little zigzag there.
But a little bit more methodical than me. I've just been like, I'll open up the map and I go, I want to go there. And then I warp to a shrine that I found close there, and then I just start wandering around there. And it's... for me, it wasn't the last tower that I got, but it was the second to last. Was up by Death Mountain, with the volcano, and I got to that tower, and then I was like, you know what, I want to, I got in the tower, and I was also working through the captured memories quest, and I got all the memories done. And yeah,
I've done like 2 just because I happened upon them.
Oh man, the story is the way it makes Zelda so front and center in the game. It's just it's awesome. It's so good, and I'm not going to do any spoilers for our listeners or for you, but the way that the last memory ends, and then you get the Link to the Past crystal theme, which is also Zelda's theme, and it was such a good theme that they put it as Zelda's theme in Ocarina of Time. Yeah. You hear that at the end of the last memory you get for that quest, and it's just like goosebumps, and like you get your eyes sweat a little bit. It's fantastic. It's so good. But yeah. Anyways, back to the Death Mountain tower. There's a memory up there that you need to get, and I jump off the tower to parasail over there, and I realize, I'm really hot here. So I decide to take like something that will increase my heat resistance, and I eat it, and then I unpause it and keep gliding, and I'm still like glowing red, and I'm like, I wonder if this is bad, and then I just like ignite. I'm flying and I'm on fire, and I'm thinking, oh no, well. How am I going to do this? And so I looked at my items, and I can't even remember how I got it, but I had one like fireproof elixir, and it lasted for 6 minutes. I'm like, okay, down this. Let's get to this memory. And I got to the memory. I got it, and I had like a minute and a half left on that timer. And I'm like, okay, I can see a shrine down there in the lava. I'm going to jump down and get that shrine so I don't have to worry about getting there again. I can just warp there. And so I got the shrine, and then I'm looking at the map, and I'm like, there is a Goron village up there. I want to go run to that. So I go back up to the tower, and then I got like 30 seconds left on my timer at this point. I fly down, and again, the heat picks up, and then my 30-second timer on my heat-proof elixir wears off, and I again start glowing red, and then I burst into flames, and I'm running. And I'm like, I want to make it to this village. And so as I'm running, your health goes down so fast when you are burning up. And so I'm like, I don't want to burn through any good food to do this. I have like 113 apples. So I just start jamming apples in my face. And you hear Link just kind of like grunting the whole way as I'm running, just and I pause it every 10 seconds to just jam more apples in my face. And I made it there. That's awesome. I start talking to one of these Gorons who's acting like it's normal to see a human or a Hylian burning up, literally on fire, with just applesauce all over them. They are obviously in distress, and I'm going to take some time to just talk to you.
That's great. That's awesome.
It was maybe my favorite thing I've done in the game yet. But yeah, so I was like, okay, I made it there. I can't find a shrine. I had saved it before I did all that. I'll just make sure that Link doesn't have to remember this as well. So I'm going to load it back on the tower and get out of here. So.
That's a fantastic story, and one of like millions that we experience as you go through. I'm blanking on one right now, but just the freedom that you have to go around and stuff just works.
Yep.
Stuff just happens like it should, and it's phenomenal. Even just when it's raining, and then you're like, crap, it's raining, so I can't climb anything. Well, what do? Well, I want to wait. I want to make time pass so that the rain will stop maybe. But dang it, I can't start a fire because it's raining. And so then I remember one time walking over to this pillar that was just slightly slanted, sticking out of the ground. It was slightly slanted, but it gave me just enough cover to throw down some wood, start a fire.
I haven't done that yet. That's a good idea.
And there it goes. And so it was just this really there's so many great stories, and I'm sure we'll have plenty more to share. But I'm sure our listeners have heard plenty about Zelda today. Are you playing anything else, my friend?
I am playing Zelda Breath of the Wild, and is there another game right now? I've been playing.
But you bought like 3 or 4 of them, didn't you?
I've got a few. Yeah, I have played a little bit of Snipperclips, which if you haven't played Snipperclips co-op with someone, it is hilarious fun. It's really good, and I had that recommended to me by Steve Poissant from the Super Guitar Bros, a Detroit-based video game acoustic guitar duo.
Check them out; they're great.
Yeah, they're so good. But he just said to me, "You got to get Snipperclips," and I did, and it's awesome. I've played a little bit of it, but mostly it just devolves into trying to snip the other person into oblivion, and that's great fun. So,
and the vocabulary, man. You try to tell each other, okay, just cut me here, but jump here and try to but snip. Oh no! What do you?
I know
the conversation
awesome.
Is just
it's so insane. Good, and I love just like finding different ways to make different snips, like standing close to someone and like snipping really fast as they rotate, so that they just become a circle, and then
Wow.
having the other person do that to you, but making you smaller, and then going in the middle of the bigger circle and cutting that out, and then you've got like a donut or a Cheerio and like a little dot running around, and like just stupid things like that. It's great fun. Snipperclips is fantastic. So those are the 2 games I've been playing. Have you been playing anything else?
So, been catching up on some Zelda, obviously, playing some more. Played some Hey Pikmin, obviously the Splatoon thing I was talking about earlier. Not really a whole lot else. I've been kind of getting ready for getting Marching Man Camp started up here shortly here, and so there's not been as much time. But yeah, plenty of Zelda. Oh, that's right. I've been doing on my 3DS. I have this ongoing thing that I play at night sometimes, right before I go to bed, or when I'm just kind of hanging out, but most of the time just before bed. Have you played any of the Phoenix Wright games?
You know, I haven't, but I know the objection memes, so...
Yeah. They're great. That and Professor Layton. When I finally got my 3DS, I had never played any of those games.
Layton games look so charming, and my wife and I were just like, we've got to play these games, but we haven't yet, and that's, again, one of my great regrets in life.
Right, because I had never had an original DS, and so... I played, when I got the 3DS, I was like, man, these look great. And so I started going one by one. I played a Layton game, and then I played a Phoenix Wright game. And then I played the next Layton game, and then I played the next Phoenix Wright game. Back and forth and back and forth. And I finally made my way through all 6 Layton games and like the first 5 Wright games. And now I'm on Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright. So that game's actually pretty excellent too. So I've been playing a little bit of that.
Cool. That's awesome. I hope to rectify the Layton sin of not playing those games. I really want to play those, but yeah. All right. Well, so that's what we've been playing, and next up is a soundtrack review, and it's of a game that we have been talking about, and you're going to have to listen through the break here to find out what it is. You like how I dangled that right there? That's good. All right.
I see.
Next up is the soundtrack review. All right, soundtrack review time, and we are going to be doing a soundtrack review of Dusty Diamond's All-Star Softball for the original Nintendo Entertainment System. That's
so exciting.
Actually, that might be coming at a later episode, maybe like episode 5,000 something, but that is a good game. But regardless, we're going to be doing our soundtrack review on Breath of the Wild. Big surprise there. Yep. So, why don't you start on this? You actually own the soundtrack to this. I've been listening to it. I've been streaming it on YouTube at times, but I know you own it. So why don't you start?
Yeah. So I was very intrigued by the soundtrack. It's interesting to me because it's very different music than I listen to. I do listen to lots of classical music. That's not the thing. But the style of this music in general is very what we call minimalistic. And if you're not familiar with that, it basically just means the composer takes one or two small little motifs or musical ideas and repeats them over and over and over. It's the idea of minimalism, using a small amount of material repeatedly. But one of the things that sticks out to me so much as he goes through these is that he just adds all these little layers. And it's by the time you get towards the end of the piece, it's very, very it's built up to this huge thing, and that is personified, I think, for the most part, in the track that's called Battled parentheses Field. So basically the battle music that you listen to, and you obviously you hear this in the game, but it's much better actually listening to it on the soundtrack itself. It's more orchestral.
I have one small complaint about the soundtrack, and that's that it sounds like a police siren at the beginning of the battle theme. That's my only complaint. It feels a little bit out of place, but
and it does take 30 I don't know, maybe a minute or more to really ramp up. So those initial dum things that you hear can get a little bit annoying as you're going through the game, even if you're not near or you're not planning to engage an enemy, but they're just nearby, and so they do that.
Why don't we listen to the battle theme really quick so we can kind of hear what you were talking about, and then then we'll hit more of the soundtrack. So,
got it.
Cue the battle theme. So that battle theme, you're like, you hit on it perfectly. Like when especially if you're on horseback and you're riding quickly, and you hear that dum dum, and you hear the the violin or whatever, that it's like, come on, I know, just don't hit me off my horse. I've got my camera rotating right now.
Right.
Don't let me run into like a giant, Hinox or something. So, which Hinox, that's actually the next one we'll talk about.
Segway.
The Hinox battle music is awesome, and it's such good percussive writing at the beginning. And it took me the first time as I was listening to it, I was like, "Wait, what is the time signature of this?" And since I wasn't trying to hear it right away, it caught me off guard, and I couldn't place beat 1 until the brass came in, and the brass entrance, and then it's like, oh, it's in 5. Like, this is.
But it's got that groove.
Oh, it's so good. It almost feels a little bit 70s to me. I don't know what it is about like 70s anime or something when the brass finally comes in. But yeah, that Hinox battle music it's just awesome. But and I one of the other ones that I really liked, speaking of, we're going with battle themes here, is the Guardian battle. And that is like a great example of the minimalism you were talking about, and how the way it swells really quickly as the Guardian makes its rush at you, and it's got this like
the
frenetic
piano,
it's got that frenetic, like really
I
fast
freak out
paced
every
3/4.
time I see that.
Oh man, it's so good. It's just I love that theme, and it took me the first few times dying because I just wanted to hear that music so I'd like get on my horse and try and run from it, but it would just take me out, and I'm like, I want to hear more of this, so I need to figure out how to beat a Guardian. And so I figured out the way to do it with the perfect parry of the shield, and it's like 3 of them in a row, but you get to hear a good clip of the music then, and it's really good writing. I love the Guardian battle theme. Another one that sticks out to me was the Shrine music. Was not only the music, but the architecture of being inside the shrine. It reminds me of Final Fantasy X, the Cloisters of Trials that you go through in that. I don't know if you ever played that game, but it felt like that when you're in there, both the architecture and the music. It was just, it took me back to that, and that's like one of my favorite games ever. And so, anyways, that was a cool moment. I've got one other that I was going to talk about, but if you've got another one you want to talk about too.
Yeah, I mean, our everyone's favorite feathered friend Cass.
Yeah.
Whenever you come near him, he's got his accordion and he's going crazy on it. That
cool.
theme is so happy and so catchy. The tune, it's very repetitive. Obviously, it's a pretty short little snippet, but I could listen to that for a long time.
It doesn't matter. I was going to say, it doesn't matter if you've got like applesauce running down your face and you're on fire. Like, if you hear that music, suddenly everything's okay.
Life is good.
Yeah.
Life is good. Yeah. I even found myself, I think I was trying to figure out, I was just standing there, trying to figure out one of these shrine quests, that he gives you this riddle usually when you see him in the world. And I couldn't figure it out right away, and so I was just standing there thinking. But as I was walking around, I got far enough away where I couldn't hear his song anymore. I was like, well, if I'm just thinking, I'm going back there. I'm going to listen to this song again. So...
That's awesome. Was it the Blood Moon quest thing that he talks about? Where you've got
there are several.
Yeah.
So we just blew through a bunch of them, but we'll go through and kind of...
I've got one other one. That was the cast theme from Breath of the Wild. I got one other one that I wanted to talk about, which was the Rito Village theme, which I just made it to Rito Village just last night. And my friend Luke, you know Luke Marlowe, he was telling me I got to get to the Rito Village, and so I got there. I actually thought it was from the distance. I thought it was going to be like an encampment of enemies. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just charge across this bridge, and then it's all friendly. This is great. But as I'm walking through there, it's like, wait, this is Dragon Roost Island's theme from Wind Waker, and like totally reimagined, and it's just one of those moments in gaming where it blends the two, and like it kind of marries those two games in your memory now, and it's like, it's just so good because they're such both such great moments in the game, and to hear that theme reimagined like that in Breath of the Wild. Usually I don't like something that's totally reimagined like that. This was great. It was so good. So
it reminds me of when they first played the main theme along with the trailer for Skyward Sword, and then somebody had the genius idea to take that theme and play it backwards. Turns out it's the Zelda theme.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even know that.
You didn't know? Oh, no, man.
But I haven't played Skyward Sword, so I'm going to have to...
Oh, well, that'll do it.
Yeah. I'll check that out.
Listen to that. It's a really cool... I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere, but the main ballad of the goddess, I think, is the title.
Okay.
They take the Zelda theme and they put it backwards and they orchestrate it, and it's fantastic. So
that's cool. I love.
So if you haven't caught on it, we kind of like this. We kind of like this soundtrack. We're fans, basically.
Yeah.
It gets the Nintendo Director's seal of approval.
Yeah.
What kind of score would you give this, Mark?
Let's give this 10 fiddlesticks out of 20 tubas. Maybe that's not a good rating. I don't know.
Brilliant. I like it.
All right. But just know that we'll give ridiculous ratings, but if you want to know what we think of it, just listen to it and you'll know that we think very highly of it. So it's a fantastic soundtrack. So all right. Excellent. Well, that's the third segment, and we're done with the final segment of the 3001st episode of Nintendo Directors podcast. That's pretty cool. So
very cool.
Yeah, thanks if you made it this far. And I said at the beginning we'd like to keep them to around 40 minutes, give or take. We're taking another 20 minutes of your life by listening to this all the way through. This is going to clock in right around an hour. So
that's okay. So normally at this time we might do some reader mail for the thousands of emails that we have received up to this point in our 3001st episode. We just decided to hold that off for a week. We sort through them all. And,
yeah, couldn't pick just one or any.
Yeah, it was just hard to get there. So if you'd like to be part of the show, and if you'd like to be part of the Nintendo Directors podcast, send your questions, comments, and or
concerns.
Hopefully not concerns.
Objections.
To the following email address. It is nintendodirectorspodcast@gmail.com. That's nintendodirectorspodcast@gmail.com. Yes, there is an S after director. Make sure you don't forget that. nintendodirectorspodcast@gmail.com. Remember, this is a I guess you could call it bi-weekly, but also bi-monthly show. And not a weekly one, so... So our next show is going to be, what's that? August, not 1st. It is the 8th, August 8th, Tuesday. We typically try to, we should qualify that. We usually record on Tuesdays, but our goal is to have our deadline to post on iTunes or wherever you consume podcast services, iTunes for now, is by Thursday at, what did we say, 9 a.m.?
Yeah, give or take. with my give or takes, that could be a day or 3. So
well, we're really going to try to stick to that
Thursday
deadline. We
yep.
know that listening, you the listeners expect and want to come out on time. So we're really going to try to do our best to stick to that. If you found us through iTunes, if you would go on there and find our show, give us a rating. Tell us what you like, what you didn't like. It helps get more visibility for the show, and tell your friends.
It helps direct us. Direct us. Yeah. Huh? All right.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I see what you did. Right. He's awake now. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, we're band directors. It's a profession dedicated to bad humor, so get used to it.
You got it. You got it. So yeah, any questions you might have about those things? Obviously, we kind of rush through things. We'll probably tell you a little bit more about ourselves in future episodes, what might be going on. But we'll try to keep it basically to Nintendo. That's what we're here for. That's what brought us together in the first place. And so, yeah, we're excited to continue.
Be sure to check us out on the social medias. We will be having a presence on Facebook and potentially Twitter, but if my past is any indication of the future, if there's a Twitter page, it will get updated once yearly. So don't.
I will try to be in charge of that. At least to post the newest.
All right, Brad is in charge of Twitter. I'll be in charge of Facebook. So, all right, we're good to go then. So, all right. Well, thank you very much for listening, and that's a wrap. Nintendo Directors, episode 3001. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Au revoir.